Humans have a natural tendency to divide the world into neat categories. Good people over here, bad people over there. It's a survival mechanism that helps us navigate society with a sense of order. For the residents of one small town, that order was defined by fear. A meticulous burglar was stalking the neighborhood, specifically targeting wealthy, empty homes or residents who were too vulnerable to fight back. His methods were contradictory. He used a knife to keep victims at bay, yet his record remained curiously bloodless. He relied on intimidation, but had never actually caused physical harm to anyone he robbed. Despite that lack of violence, the community and the police saw him as a singular threat. The investigation was focused entirely on his capture, treating him as a simple menace to public safety. To the town, he was a silhouette in the dark, a one-dimensional villain. This perspective left no room for questions about why he was doing it or what might be driving him to such desperate lengths. That local fear peaked when the thief entered an isolated, modest home on the outskirts of town. Inside, an elderly man was struggling to care for his terminally ill wife. The couple lived in a state of total isolation. Their only son had long since abandoned them, leaving the husband to manage the crushing weight of his wife's failing health alone. The thief forced his way in, brandishing his knife and demanding every cent they had left. He was targeting the very funds the husband had scraped together to pay for the woman's medication and tablets. To an outside observer, the cruelty here is hard to overstate. Taking the final resources of a dying woman and her exhausted caretaker is the kind of act that seems to strip away any remaining pretense of a moral code. Paralyzed by fear, the husband complied. He went inside and brought out a small bundle wrapped in cloth, containing their jewelry and meager savings. As he handed it over, the man broke down. He pleaded with the thief, explaining that this money was the only thing keeping his wife's medical treatment and her life on track. He made a final, devastating declaration. If his wife died because these funds were stolen, he would end his own life, as he couldn't imagine existing without her. The thief offered no sympathy. He grabbed the valuables, turned his back, and fled into the night without saying a word. In most stories of crime, this is the end of the interaction, a cold transaction where the desperate lose everything to the ruthless. Left in the silence of their home, the couple wept, certain that their clock had finally run out. But then, a thud came from the porch. The husband opened the door to find the same cloth bundle lying on the ground. Inside was their original money and jewelry, that it was now accompanied by a significant pile of additional cash the thief had taken from other homes. A note was tucked inside. In it, the thief explained he wasn't a career criminal. He was a husband whose own wife was dying, and he had been stealing to pay for her care. The note made it clear. Once he saw the old man's grief, he realized they were living the exact same nightmare. He couldn't rob a man who shared his own pain, and he told them to use the extra money for a better hospital. This illustrates what we call radical empathy. The moment the thief recognized himself in his victim, it blurred the line between the predator and the prey until it vanished entirely. But the time spent writing that note and returning the money came at a cost. A neighbor had seen him and called the police. Officers quickly pinned him down at the riverbank. With nowhere left to run, the thief sought cover behind a massive concrete pillar. The police closed the perimeter with their weapons drawn, expecting a violent struggle with a man they still believed to be a heartless criminal. The external pressure of the manhunt was reaching its breaking point, but an internal crisis was about to end the standoff before a single shot was fired. A phone began ringing behind the pillar. Despite the police commands to come out with his hands up, the thief didn't move. When the officers finally moved in, they found the thief dead, still holding the ringing phone. An officer picked up the call. On the other end, a neighbor was calling to say that the thief's wife had just passed away at home. The realization that his reason for living was gone was too much for him to bear. His heart had simply stopped from the shock. The thief spent his final hour ensuring that another man wouldn't have to experience the grief he was about to face. He chose to leave the house empty-handed, deciding that if he couldn't save his own wife, he could at least save someone else's. If this story changed the way you look at the people around you, please like, share, and subscribe to Global Life Stories for more explorations into the human experience.